Adfactory. J. Walter Thompson. This time on Adfactory, the biggest department store in America makes a holiday special about finding out the truth about Santa. A razor blade commercial uses nuts and bolts to explain how to get hair off your stuff. An ostrich-riding marketing team chases people to keep them from revealing the flavor of a new mystery gum. Kotex proves that men are terrified of buying tampons. And Stouffer's tries to get the family together for dinner. J. Walter Thompson is the biggest advertising agency in the U.S. and the fourth biggest agency in the world.
JWT is a global communications organization. We're one of the oldest communications organizations on the planet.
Headquartered in New York, JWT is a true global network with more than 200 offices in over 90 countries, employing nearly 10,000 marketing professionals. They produced the first ever TV commercial in 1939 and have since then consistently ranked among the top agency networks in the world with leading creativity and cutting-edge work performance.
145 years old, and that legacy is something that we're very proud of, and it's also something that makes it more challenging to change to fit in with modern communications.
Macy's is known for touchy-feely, emotional holiday commercials that work great on people. But this one really does the trick. JWT brings back an editorial about a little girl and her quest to find out the truth about Santa, and ends up producing an animated holiday special based on the famous "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus."
We needed to come up with a Christmas message that was appropriate for a time when people weren't shopping. So we needed to craft a message that was at the same time inspirational, that also rekindled the holiday spirit at a time when there really wasn't that much, and something that didn't feel overly crass or commercial, like we're saying, like, you know, we're slashing prices, come on in. And that's when we came up with this idea, Believe. And this campaign was literally, we just asked America to believe in Santa Claus again, to believe in something as ridiculous as Santa Claus. And that believing in Santa means that you believe in faith and wonder and imagination and all the things that make Christmas great. We actually asked people to write a letter to Santa Claus to prove that they believed, and we collected more than 1 million letters. The campaign was a great success, and Macy's actually asked, now how are we going to top it next year? The story of this little girl who went on a quest to find the truth about Santa Claus is such a great story. Why don't we turn that into a holiday special?
It was really important to us that we make it classic and not try to do some of the, things that people do nowadays. They try too hard to appeal to the cool nature and kids or this or that. We went back to classic storytelling.
Stories that people cherish from their childhood.
She needed to find out the truth. She was struggling with it. You felt her passion throughout the show.
When you're a department store, there's no more important season than Christmas. Everything comes down to Christmas. So the advertising that you do during that season makes or breaks the department store for the year. And Macy's, as a department store, is also indelibly linked to Christmas. In America, there's a very, very famous expression, "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus." That expression comes from an editorial that was written in 1897 by a man named Francis Church, who received a letter in the mail one day from this little girl that said, "Dear editor, my friends say there's no such thing as Santa Claus. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus?" So he saw this letter and he wrote in response what ended up being the most famous newspaper editorial in history. And he wrote, "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and devotion exist." Fast forward 100 years, that phrase is incredibly famous, and that editorial in just a few paragraphs sums up everything we were trying to say with Believe. When we created the campaign, we actually used that editorial. From that seed, we realized that there was so much more that we can do than just traditional advertising. Producing the show was a joy. We had to restructure the agency a little bit and restructure the way we worked with our client in order to make a show. Instead of hundreds of decisions to be made, there are thousands. The most stressful moment was probably midway through the project where Macy's had greenlit the production, but we still didn't know which network it was going to be on, or if we were going to have a network. We pitched the networks and waited for word, and then when we finally got it, we were far less stressed.
When we wanted to do a premiere, we actually found the house that Virginia grew up in is now a school. So we held the premiere for the show in the house that she grew up in.
It's done pretty well on the award shows. But what I think is even more powerful is the fact that it's been accepted by film festivals.
I think 2 or 3 years ago there wouldn't have been the places for it to be recognized in advertising festivals. Advertising is an interruption, and then it has to be entertaining in order to break through and to get consumers to engage with it.
So many more people involved. There are so many more people who are involved in the decision making. And if you don't listen, and if you don't stay open to new ideas coming from unexpected places, you're shutting down a lot of brilliant ideas. This show, actually, when we pitched it to Macy's, we pitched it as a 3-minute web film. And the client said, wouldn't it be great if it were a half-hour animated show? And we were like, wow, that's never gonna... Actually, you know what, that would be pretty good.
One of the reasons that we went with the Eblin Group and hired the director Pete Circuit was because he had this vision for the show visually that was sort of old world. Even though it was CG and it was computer generated, it had a texture to it and a feel to it. He wanted the world to feel a little dusty and a little bit 1897, and he wanted to create a lot of texture in it. And then the trick was we hired a production company in Stars, which is based in Toronto, which was phenomenally adept at moving quickly and creating these textures and these characters and doing the animation and the lighting. And we got lucky because they just had a window where a project had been put on hold, and we were able to get in and work with them on it.
One of the truly amazing things about the show is how much we had to learn and how short of a time we had to learn it. We had to learn how to write a screenplay. We had to learn how to, the whole process of computer animation, which is completely different from live action. For music, we brought in Nicholas Hooper. So Nicholas Hooper was the composer for the last 2 Harry Potter films. It's one of those things that you just trust your instincts. First, you learn how to do it, you stay humble, but then you trust your instincts for what your vision of what the show is supposed to be. A lot of people consider branded entertainment just as product placement. They're drinking a Diet Coke at one point. This suddenly becomes branded entertainment. And that's not what we believe it is. We believe that branded entertainment is when the story grows organically out of what your campaign message is or what your brand's message is. So for Macy's, they were trying to tell America that they should believe in the spirit of Christmas and they should believe in Santa Claus. It comes from your message, your story being told in a powerful and beautiful way, which is what I think separates Yes, Virginia from a lot of what people consider to be branded entertainment.
Brands want to tell a story. When you create the piece of entertainment from scratch and you parallel the stories, you don't have to do as much product placement. You don't have to scream with logos and force products in where they don't fit naturally. We made sure that when she gives in the box, it's a red box. There's little stars throughout the show. You were able to draw enough parallels that people wouldn't miss the brand message in the show.
This was designed and built to run for decades. We think that it can just continue to get more and more viewers as the years roll on. It really is the birth of an entertainment franchise.
For a show that was new to the public, the ratings were phenomenal.
4 million households tune in, but press around the show generated something like on the order of 3.5 billion impressions, which is impressive by any nature. I think clients are finally understanding that they have to break into these areas in order to be noticed, that doing the traditional and the expected is not going to work.
Stride's New Gum, a mystery flavor that taunts the audience to be prepared to embrace the new. You better be able to keep a secret, or you'll have to face the consequences of the marketing hunt.
The basic premise of the idea is that we are pretending that the Stride marketing team is a bunch of idiots, the misguided marketers of Stride. Their whole premise is to get you to chew more of their gum. The problem is it lasts too long. So people weren't chewing anymore. They were chewing one piece and then they would just keep chewing that piece. They had a great product, but it was too great. The line was good for you, not so good for us. So it started out historically like that. The idea has been very consistent all the way through. We were about to launch a mystery gum, which was the first time they had done some innovation, which is a big thing in the categories. And it's another way to get them to chew another piece, right? When they briefed us, they said, okay, it's a mystery gum. We're not going to tell anybody what the flavor is. It's called Mega Mystery. We're just going to put a big question mark on the package. And what Mega Mystery was a gum that they didn't know what to call it, so they just called it Mega Mystery, which was a great idea. And the marketers at Stride aren't idiots. That's the truth. They're not idiots. They pretend to be idiots on TV, but they're not really, which is interesting. They came up with this mystery gum, and they said, okay, we want to market this. It's not about long lasting, which is the thing that immediately I thought, like, ooh, it's going to be hard because you're all about longer lasting gum, and now you've got this mystery flavored gum, which is a completely different premise. The more we thought, well, the idea isn't about longer lasting gum, it's about these marketers. So what would they do? We came up with the fact that if somebody tried to tell what the flavor was, they would probably go and try to stop them. We could go and get somebody who's trying to give away the secret on YouTube and break into his house with ostriches, ride ostriches through the walls of his house, and try to make him stop telling the secret flavor. So that's what we did.
So, I figured out this Stride mystery gum. It totally tastes like...
Don't reveal the secret flavor of new Stride Mega Mystery, or we'll find you.
Zip it!
New Stride Mega Mystery, the ridiculously long-lasting gum with a flavor that keeps you guessing.
Stride is a great client because they do push you to make things better every time. When we first came with the script, it was a bulldozer. So the guy was riding a bulldozer through the walls, which the client said, well, I've seen that. And I said, where have you seen that? You know. Then we were like, well, he could ride an elephant. So we had him riding an elephant, which we thought, wow, this is great. We're going to ride an elephant through a wall. And they were like, yeah, I don't know, an elephant? I've sort of seen there's been a lot of elephants in ads. So at this point, I feel like, oh, God, you know, I'm terrible. I come up with the worst ideas. We said, okay, let's just come up with a bunch. And we wrote probably about 50 different ideas for what could happen to stop this guy from doing. We came up with, well, we could ride ostriches. The client was like, yes, now you've got it. The whole brand is about WTF. That's what the brand's all about. So that was the most WTF thing we could come up with. I've never tried to ride an ostrich. They were live ostriches. It was a fun shoot, and you know, no ostriches were harmed. So that's good. I like to find directors that are off the beaten path. We found this guy named Jack Cole, and Jack Cole had some really great ideas. Shots inside, here's the styling, here's the casting, what it'll be. It'll look like, you know, we wanted it to look like a web video at first, and then kind of when the ostriches break through, do you break away from that, or do you stay on the webcam? We went out to London for 2 weeks, got the ostriches. The ostriches had to be trained for 3 or 4 weeks. All of it is shot on green screen. So we drop a green cloth over the set, and we had each ostrich come in through holes that we had already made in the walls. So everything you see in that spot is sort of a separate element all put together, and it looks pretty amazing. A company can say anything in their ad, but it's the things that you do, so the actions speak louder than the actual ads themselves. And Stride is easy to do that with. We created a bunch of little videos to trick people into thinking that what the flavor was. Each spot is a jingle. It's like a little song for what the flavor is.
Holy lumberjack, you'll never believe it. This burly gum tastes just like chopping wood. The flavor of the brute force it takes us with timber, with hints of checkered flannel and tree. It's a new Stride Mega Mystery. New Stride Mega Mystery may or may not taste like chopping wood.
You didn't know what to believe. There were 7 of them. We shot them all in one day.
New Stride Mega Mystery is the world's first Delaware flavored gum.
People did like them. Some people got annoyed with how many we put, but we definitely made an impression. The client was very happy. We had a lot of fun.
this commercial goes off the main road to sell a razor blade with the punchline, "Hair off my stuff." Literally. A little out of the ordinary, but great for being bold without being politically incorrect. Wilkinson Sword, "Hair off my stuff."
There's a product on the market, it's a men's shaver. It's a razor on one side and a trimmer on the other side.
For the first time ever, men can tidy up manscaping all over their bodies.
They took a big risk actually, which they gave us the majority of their budget to do something online, which we thought was fantastic because it gave us a little bit of flexibility. We could it didn't have to be a 30-second commercial like the traditional way on television. We could actually make a film, which is what we ended up doing.
They found this unique place where they could talk about intimate areas, talking in euphemism about kind of shaving down there.
So stuff is everything in English, my pen's part of my stuff and my shoes are my stuff and my other parts of my stuff. So the idea was, how do you get the hair off your stuff?
Men having hair on their stuff, it's a universal problem. So we wanted to tell the story of not one, but a sample of men. 3 guys who wanted to desperately get the hair off their stuff. Sometimes they're ashamed of their stuff, sometimes they're proud of their stuff, sometimes they don't care about their stuff.
There's a guy who's young who doesn't even realise his stuff is hairy. Then there's the guy who's aware of the fact that he's hairy but covers up his stuff. And then there's eventually the man who finds a woman who loves him despite the fact that he has hair on his stuff. This film went out as a viral video that got shared around, which directed people to a website called hairoffmystuff.com. On the website, we had a beautiful redhead woman that then showed you how to get the hair off your stuff. So one of the scripts was how to get the hair off your nuts and bolts. She literally demonstrates how to shave a nut and how to shave some bolts. It's fun. You can show a lot more than you would be able to on a man's body.
It was a sight to behold, this amazing innocent redhead shaving, smiling at the camera on a nut and bolt, obviously meaning something else, and the client is sitting offset watching the monitor going. We picked an amazing director by the name of Joachim Riesman, and he did a great job of making it poetic. We wanted this to be quite a poetic film, really beautiful, and the hair just happened to be on the stuff.
It was a juxtaposition of, an everyday story with men that have this problem, which is they have hair on their stuff. They physically hand-placed every strand of hair on everything that you see through the film. The client was absolutely brilliant. They were just with us every process, everything that we presented they loved, and we all agreed we're girls and we wrote scripts about dudes. So I was like, well, I don't think dudes would do that. And we're like, okay, fair enough.
Hello and welcome to hairoffmystuff.com. In this video, we'll show you how to get hair off your tools with the Wilkinson Sword Quattro Titanium body. Let's start with the nuts and bolts. They come in all shapes and sizes and can be tricky to handle. Start with the trimmer. Remember, smooth motions against the grain will ensure a closer trim. Then cover your nuts and bolts in a good dollop of shaving cream and switch to the blade side. Always use a fresh blade and take short, light strokes. You don't want to lose a nut in the process. And we're done. Your tools will be easier to find and handle.
Witty, creative, and a little aggressive, has worked great for this campaign for Kotex that goes out on a limb and takes a leap of faith to change the way of talking about hygiene products to women. They encourage criticism of past communications and raise the bar for future efforts.
It was one of those briefs that doesn't come around very often. It was one of those wonderful moments where you just go, I'm so lucky to be sitting in this room getting this brief. The client wanted us to completely reframe the category, to completely change how feminine hygiene has been marketed to women. They really wanted to stop marketing to women like they had been doing in the past, and they wanted to be truthful and transparent and open and honest dialogue. We immersed ourselves in looking at all the competitive advertising, and my God, it is a minefield of hideous images of girls smiling and dancing and wearing white lycra and running along the beach and ever so happy on their period, which of course, as every woman knows, that's not quite right.
The ads on TV are really helpful because they use that blue liquid, and I'm like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen.
We really wanted to expose the myths and stigmas that have been perpetuated by both marketers and the media, and just be honest, you know, talk to girls and be truthful. It'd be nice to actually use a bit of irony and humour and sort of show girls that we were on their side, that we weren't going to do that anymore because we were part of it. Speak to them in their own language, you know, use a bit of a wry smile, show that we didn't agree with what's gone on, and just bring it to life in a way that, you know, wasn't insulting, and actually show that we're listening. When society and marketers and the media treat something that is so normal to 50% of the population as something that's bad or should be shrouded or hidden in the closet, it actually means that girls don't feel open to talk about their bodies. We worked through many ways of bringing this to life, and finally landed on the ads that we produced that I think are just simple and honest and truthful and deliver what we're trying to say with some humour and irony. The first spot was called Apology. We had an intern team here when we were writing, and they were making a manifesto of what we thought, you know, would be the tone and feel of the campaign, and we put it together in this short 2-minute video, and that ironically ended up being what we used to make the first 30-second commercial out of. And over and above that, the girl who wrote the ad also starred in the original manifesto piece, and we loved her so much that we cast her for the real ad. So not only did she have a hand in writing it, she starred in it, and she was great. The second ad that we ran is called So Obnoxious, and she was just calling out all the cliches of how women are portrayed in advertising, especially in this category. And then another ad that we did was a girl that we stationed outside a pharmacy, and she said that she didn't have a bike lock and needed to buy some tampons, and so she was asking passers-by, you know, would they please go in and buy her some tampons. And we did this as a social experiment, trying to see what reactions we would get. You know, the bulk of them were, you know, just so uncomfortable. And again, back to, you know, what our mission was, is to try and make this thing that happens to 50% of the population at some time in their life feel normal, as it should be. When we started out, we would take the ads to the networks, to the television networks for approval. You know how you have to do that. And interestingly, we couldn't actually say the word down there. We couldn't point here. We couldn't even go whoop-hoo. We couldn't reference that part of the woman's body where the product goes at all. So we actually had to amend a lot of the work, because we were just, you know, stopped from using that, which, you know, is a little absurd in this day and age. The campaign overall has had something like 1.5 million hits on YouTube. And then the great thing too is that girls are actually taking it into their sort of own world, and they're remaking the ads. So they're actually posting videos of themselves reenacting the ad. So it's just been, it's been a lovely dialogue. Girls were ready for this message, and they've been great, and they're just completely in love with what we've done, and are showing that. We just have to, you know, make sure that we do something that they're going to love and want to mimic and want to blog about and you know, respect as well.
Hi, I'm a believably attractive 18 to 24-year-old female. You can relate to me because I'm racially ambiguous. And I'm in this tampon commercial because market research shows girls like you love girls like me. Don't all these angles make me seem dynamic? Now I'm going to tell you to buy something. Buy the same tampons I use, because I'm wearing white pants, and I have good hair. And you wish you could be me.
You like Kotex, a new line of tampons, pads, and liners.
Stouffer's commercials aim to make family dinner a time to bring families together and make it a time to talk, share, and enjoy together. Does it work? Find out from the makers of Stouffer's Let's Fix Dinner campaign.
Stouffer's is a company that makes frozen foods, and they were looking for a way to make sure that their product remains relevant in a very fast-changing industry. We needed to come up with an idea that was going to make sure that they stayed relevant as people change the way that they eat, as people's lifestyles change, people are getting busier and busier. We came up with an idea about the power of the family dinner. Family dinner is where so many bonds and connections are forged, that Stouffer's really plays a critical role in getting people to the table. We interviewed lots of different families and came up with a group of about 5 or 6 different families that we decided we would follow for a month as we did this experiment. So the result was several TV spots, several different films that are online at letsfixdinner.com, where you can see their experience as they go and engage more around the family dinner table.
Can you give your daughter a better body image by setting the table? Could placemats help keep your kids off drugs? Are your kids more likely to talk when their mouths are full? Could oven mitts be the key to a successful relationship? What can more dinners together do for your family?
As a documentary, it wasn't something that you can really test the results of beforehand. So we all had to take a little bit of a leap of faith in saying we're going to follow these families and see what the power of dinner, what difference it actually makes in their lives.
At Stouffer's, we think there's some pretty powerful statistics about the benefits of family dinner. And we've always made wholesome meals with real ingredients to help families get easy and delicious dinners to the table. These are real families who have taken our challenge to have dinners together more often. It's not always easy, but they're doing what it takes to make this time to reconnect.
The underlying message of the campaign is really to get people back to thinking about how powerful dinner really is in forging the connections in people's lives. That'll go a long way for this brand to remain relevant for a very long time.
At Stouffer's, we encourage every family to experience the power of dinner for themselves and see what you can fix when you fix dinner. See what more dinners together did for these families at letsfixdinner.com.